Hi everybody, I'm Gareth from Canalside Community Food. If you want to come closer, bring your bales up here. It's about community. I'm going to, basically me and Hannah are going to run you through our farms and how they're structured, but and Ed hopefully will arrive at some point and how his farm is structured, and hopefully you'll begin to get an idea about what a diverse model of farming, a farm business, a CSA can be. So really, just to launch into it, I'm from Canalside Community Food. We are a CSA, and by that, what we mean is that we understand that our customers, who we call members, share the risks and the rewards of farming with us. So it's a model whereby we share the responsibility, if you like, for farming across the community. We are now at the moment registered as a community benefit society, but back in 2006 when we started, we just started as a bog standard company limited by guarantee. And the ethos of the farm has always been quite strongly not to take grants. I know that might sound odd from a community perspective point of view, but we always wanted the farm to run as a business and not be beholden, basically, to grant funders. I mean, before that, I'd done a lot of work for charities and things that needed grant funding to work, and basically it just, it saps the soul out of you, basically, doesn't it? So we launched in 2006, and we launched on the back of loans. So we somehow managed to get together 10,000 quid's worth of loans. We found a farm that were willing to rent us the land, and we also asked people to buy their first year of veg up front, which was quite a big ask at the time, considering what we rented was 3 wheat fields, basically. So we had we had access to farm machinery and stuff, but we did ask people to, take a leap of faith, basically. That was 10 acres of rented land. We gradually built the community up over a number of years. And then in about 2018, we relaunched the farm. The farm that we were renting off gave us the opportunity to buy the land if we wanted to. So for that reason, we reconstituted as what's called a community benefit society. And that enables us to raise community shares. So a lot of our members, who had been long-standing members to that point, actually invested in the farm. So that enabled us to raise £10,000 to basically buy the land that we've been renting. So actually, the community, in a sense, now owns the farm through community shares. We produce seasonal shares all year round. At the moment, we have about 140 people paying for a veg share. We have a lot more people who are just members of the farm. We were strongly driven at the beginning, actually, by by seasonal, fresh, seasonal, and organic. We're certified organic veg. And the reason for that was environmental, really. It's really cutting down food miles, as it was at the time. Obviously, the most nutritious food is obviously food that's eaten in the season as well. So that's a strong motivation for doing it. We have a lot of associated activities on the farm. We have work sessions for members and volunteers. We have seasonal events and parties and things. We have school visits. We have a rent-free. We have a care farm on the site who basically get their own clients, and they join in the work parties and things like that. And obviously, we take part in the CSA network and a lot of promotion around CSAs. For those of you who want the technical details of the farm, at the moment we've got 10 acres in organic veg rotation. We've got about 2 acres of still rented orchard. It's certified organic. We've just purchased another 2 acres. I mean, when you become a farmer, the aim becomes to buy more land, doesn't it? So So that's what we're doing. The fruit and veg shares are seasonal. We've got about 6 large polytunnels, which helps us extend the season either end. We try not to buy anything in. That's been quite difficult in the last 2 years because there's a lot of climate change related issues now coming, and we're having a look at really changing the system now, and we're thinking a lot about the sort of stuff that Ben was talking about. You know, how do we integrate tree crops into the rotation and stuff like that. So at the moment we've got I don't know, 100 social members who pay 36 quid a year to be members of the farm. And then we have another 140 people, as I said, who pay for come and pick up a veg share. So at the moment, a medium share is 73 quid. You can get a small share or a large share as well. Where our members share the risk with the farm is that obviously this is one of the areas where they share the risk with us, is that they don't get any choice. They come down to the farm and we harvest and weigh everything into crates. We write on a board what size of share, you know, what goes into each share, and then they pack it themselves and take it away, basically. So for us as a veg business, that really cuts down on which is really a killer for a lot of box schemes who have to get 500 people or whatever involved, because we don't have any delivery costs. Basically, the members come down and do that for us. So that really cuts our overhead in that sense. So they don't get any choice. If they don't like what they've got, we've got a huge crate at the end of the pickup line, and people just put in there, and other people can help themselves, basically, to whatever other people don't want. And we do that with harvest excess as well. We can put it in the crate. People don't get any holidays. You can't go on holiday if you join the CSA. Basically, we ask people to find someone else to pick up their share. So we don't have to worry about the admin of messing around, basically. And then, yeah, as I've already said, the surplus veg is put aside for others to collect. In order to form a CBS and people invested in community shares, we do have about 180 investor members, most of whom who get veg from the farm, and we aim to pay them about 2% annually on their investment, basically. So we aim to make enough surplus to do that, and some to reinvest back in the farm. So at the moment, turnover of Canalside's in the region of about £120,000. We aim to make a 10% surplus every year, so that's 12,000 quid plus. We pay the 2% interest. I think a key point that I've learned from the CSA network and the research that's been done is that most farms don't make enough surplus to reinvest in the business. And that really causes problems 10 years in or 20 years in. Basically, you've got to keep buying the kit, fixing it, doing all the rest of it. So making enough money to reinvest in the business is really important. The management of the company, or it's actually a co-op, it's a community co-op. The day-to-day management, we have a staff team, we have 3 growers, we have a community engagement officer and a finance person, admin person. And they're accountable to a steering group, which is elected from the members, basically, who run the business, and they're legally responsible as directors. And that can vary a lot between sort of 5 people to up to 10 or 12 people. Once you get above 12 people running, you know, it's quite difficult to come to some sort of, because we work by consensus, it's quite hard to come to some sort of consensus with more than 12 people, basically. So we try and limit it to that size. And those directors are elected every year at the AGM, basically. The staff are formally employed by the CBS. We aim to be an ethical employer, so we aim to pay the living wage, and of course we pay the NICs and the pensions and everything else that workers are entitled to, basically, and they get proper holidays as well. So we are, you know, one of the real core principles of the business was to treat the workers properly, basically, or as well as we can. given the current food system. For me, the most important takeaway for CSAs, I can give you a longer list later, but basically the CSA model is very flexible, but whatever you do, you really need to have a clear vision and idea of what you're doing. Don't let it drift, basically. You're not, I mean, it might not be popular for saying this, but you're not trying to save the world. You're trying to run a small food business, basically. But, you know, the ethics and everything else that goes along with that is also important in the community. Understand the motivation of your community and why they're involved. You really need to hang on to your members and keep them coming back to the veg and down to the farm. Have a real good understanding of what your growing costs are. That's a number one priority. And be focused on producing good organic veg, basically, that looks good. You know, and the other thing with the CSA is provide a good range of social and volunteer engagement opportunities. You know, the farm, well, in our case, the farm is a communal farm. Come down, you know, we want people to come down to the farm, learn about food growing, and actually get engaged in what's going on the farm. And really, the other key point is really understand the finances, and what you're doing and how you're doing it, basically. And at the end of the year, if you've lost money, do something about it, basically. Otherwise, you're not going to be in business much longer. Anyway, I'll hand over to Hannah.
So we allow holidays in our CSA. So yeah, we're slightly different because we set up actually as an edible flower farm. So we were a COVID business. We kind of fell into selling edible flowers and kind of herbs to local chefs because we had a very oversized allotment. So we have 8 acres. Of which we have a third of an acre is edible flowers. We've got an acre of cut flowers, and we've got about an acre and a half of what we're setting up to be an agroforestry veg system just for the CSA. Our edible flowers exclusively go to high-end bakers, and so we're sending them across the country to people who have minimum orders of about £1,000. So it's kind of very high-end and a very particular type of client. We are in Doncaster. One of the parishes just down the road from us is in the top 5% of poorest parishes in the country. We have a massive food poverty issue. So my son's school only has a 4-week summer holiday, and that is specifically to combat food poverty with children in Doncaster. So we're in a very, very kind of semi-urban South Yorkshire poor area. And we were very aware of this, and we were very aware that we were growing this kind of very high-end product that was going off to kind of London or these very big weddings, and we weren't doing anything for people in our local area. So that's where we landed on the CSA model. So we use it as the best way we can explain growing vegetables, particularly kind of organic vegetables for people in our area that they wouldn't be able to access otherwise. So we are producer-led. We are a limited company. It's me and my husband, and we use the CSA model as a way of talking about kind of community engagement and a way of tackling food poverty. So we only have 40 shares. We have a small number of shares compared with lots of the other big CSAs. But we also do 15 shares to our local food bank. So they go every week, and we also do social prescribing. So we have 5 shares that go out to people with either high blood pressure or diabetes. Our veg does not need to make money in the same way that if we were just selling the veg, it would need to. So our veg has to cover its cost. As part of that, we take a share. So that massively decreases our family's food cost. So we're not directly getting paid from the CSA, but we are indirectly getting paid through vegetables. So it is a very different model to a kind of community-owned model where you're kind of paying growers. We're completely run by volunteers. So I'm head grower because I can call myself whatever I want to call myself. So I kind of the only full-time paid grower. And then we have Wednesdays and Fridays volunteer sessions, and then we have people come in for work shares, or we have people who want essentially like a mental health break. So we take quite a lot of people that will come and stay on the farm for a week and work with me as a way of kind of getting access to nature and that side of things. We also do lots of kind of community days on the farm. We do specifically getting lots of children down. So our volunteer days are probably slightly more chaotic than useful in a lot of ways, because we make sure that actually anyone can come and anyone can get involved. And also there isn't a restriction on if you can afford walking boots, that side of things. So we try and make it as kind of inclusive as possible, so that actually we know people in our local area can access it. And so that is another way that we're trying to kind of get our community engaged in something that otherwise would be quite a barrier for them. Our costs are slightly different as well. So we looked at lots of different ways where you can do kind of solidarity shares, or you can do like a pay scale depending on what you felt you could pay. Where we've ended up is we have a lower cost for our standard box. And in the hope that like the most people as possible can access that. We then kind of top that up through what we call our add-ons. So our basic box is just about 5 vegetables a week. People can then pay extra if they want salad. They can pay extra if they want herbs. You can get cut flowers on your box. So we have some people that are paying just the standard kind of £11 a box, or we have some people that are paying 30, 40, even £50 because they're doing the add-ons. So we kind of use that upsale way of working to try and make it accessible to as many people as possible. So yeah, 40 shares for us, about 50% of those will get add-ons. We don't have a management committee or anything, it is just me. I have set a steering group up because I realised I needed to be accountable to somebody. So we have some people from our local community, and then we have basically business mentors. And so they're not a board in a sense that they don't have voting rights. It is still my decision what happens on the farm, but they will help steer where we're going with things. Can't remember what else you covered. Excellent. Yeah, so yeah. I think that's probably everything. Sorry, this is me coming up with this on quite short notice.
So we were waiting for Ed to come from Chagfood, which runs a slightly different model again. But at this point, are there any sort of questions that people would like to raise or discuss about CSAs?
You might need to use that. You want to bring that one down. Sorry.
Yes, so we're just north of Doncaster.
Hi, my name's Gina. I work for Sustain, and I just had a very quick question for you, Hannah, which was on delivery. So with your veg box, do people collect them, or do you arrange delivery? What are the costs for that like?
So we deliver. We are in a weird piece of land that is between the East Coast mainland and the East Coast goods line. And so you have to go over manned level crossings to get to our farm. And it's 2 miles basically down single tracks. So for us, getting people to come to the farm would have been really difficult. So we do deliver. The flowers really help with that. So we are going out and doing both flower subscriptions and veg at the same time. So I suspect we probably are tight on the costs for the veg, but actually with the flowers it makes up. you can sell flowers for a lot more profit than you can veg, essentially.
Sorry, I know this is a CSA talk, but about the cut flowers, you said you deliver flowers. Do you do home subscribers? Do people get a flower subscription? Do you get much take up from that? And if so, have you got any marketing tips? Because we grow cut flowers, but we really struggle to get home, like individuals to subscribe to a flower subscription. We mostly do wholesale as a consequence. So what's the trick? What's the secret?
Facebook Marketplace ads. No, so we sell flowers 3 ways. 4 ways. So we do wholesale. We do cut flower. We call it a CSA, and that's great because that mops up everything we haven't sold. And so sometimes people just get sweet peas. Sometimes they get amazing amounts of dahlia. So yes, we do a flower CSA. We then do bouquets, which we market as gift bouquets, and then we do weddings, a kind of semi-service and DIY buckets. Most of our customers come through Facebook advertising and local Facebook groups. So we've got about 12 local Facebook groups that are in the villages around us. And I have a big spreadsheet of how many times you can post and what all their rules are. And basically we try and hit those Facebook groups as much as possible, because I think that you need to get that repetition. So I think once people have seen it and is seeing your flowers lots and lots, we do the same with the veg actually. I think people will start to pick it up. We also have done things like, so we sponsor a local girls football team. We always make sure if there's a local raffle, we give a bouquet of flowers and that. I think you just have to get it in front of people. So paid Facebook, so you can link. It's getting very sorry, but you can link your website to Facebook. So if you link your shop to the Facebook shop, and it comes up with a sponsored ad with basically a buy now. So I think it works. It works the same with like rainbow carrots. So you've got a product that's very visually impactful. And people will see it straight away, and then they will hit that buy now. We did teachers jam jars, so we sold jam jars for teachers at the end of term, and we sold out using that route in 4 hours, because again, people wanted to just buy straight away. It solved their problem. They didn't have to think about it. We then delivered it. So that's basically where most of our customers come from.
Hi, I'm interested in the resources you put into the social side of things. You said that there was, you have lots of people come to the farm and have social time. Can you say a bit more about that and what goes into that? What space do you use? How much money did you put into that space? That sort of thing.
Well, basically, as I said, when we took the farm over, it was basically 3 wheat fields. But quickly, we built a social area on the farm. So on one of the fields that happened to be there. The members, together we built a pole barn basically, which now also serves as a pickup space and a social area. And there's a field kitchen there as well, and so there is a dedicated social space built into the farm basically. We've just recently, obviously there's lots of CSAs and probably box schemes and things are struggling at the moment with keeping cover. With the CSA, retention of your members basically is key, keeping them engaged, and really. Recently, I think, true to say, in the last year or so, most businesses that I know of have been struggling on the veg end of things. So we have just recently tried. We've employed somebody as a community engagement officer. So, and it is their job specifically to help get events, education, stuff down on the farm. So, for instance, you know, they're running things like moth evenings, you know, so the local wildlife trust people come down and run moth traps and stuff. Oh, Ed's here. He's just about. Yeah. So, and, you know, we've had, you know, the local schools did maypole dancing this year down on the farm, which got everybody from the local village down. So, you know, that was, you know, that. So, yeah, you have to, I mean, the overhead on Canalside is running at about 30% now, which any sort of normal business, that would be, oh my God, you know, you can't run a veg business with a 30% overhead. But that overhead is social engagement, basically. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get your name. I missed the very beginning. It's Hannah. It's a question for you. It's to do with your pricing. You were saying how you thought or looked at having sliding scales. Do you have a sliding scale? You also said that you have the small basic box of 5 is presumably for people who don't have a lot of money, but then you can add in. How do you price the add-ins? Is it more for people who can afford the add-ins and less for those who just have a bigger family? Do you see where the question's going? And the other question, which sort of ties in with that, is do you sell your veg in any other way apart from as a CSA with add-ins? Do people buy the add-ins without the CSA? Do you sell them elsewhere? In which case, how do you basically maintain getting the right price for the veg that you're not selling through your socially responsible CSA product? Could you address some of that, please?
Just pulling the cable. So our model works that it's a basic cost for, we say, a minimum of 5 veg, and that goes to everybody. Sometimes that will be, so I gave people 1.5 kilograms of runner beans the other week. So sometimes it will be lots and lots of veg, and sometimes it won't be, and we explain to our customers why that is the case. So everybody gets a kind of introduction leaflet, and it explained that there is a shared risk and reward. The risk is if we get all the Cavalineros eaten by cabbage white, you might get holy Cavalionero. Whereas if we've got a bumper crop of something, you know, you'll get more. So it's aimed at families. The majority of our customers actually are people kind of whose families have left home. So it's usually people between 50 and 65 who have a bit more income and a bit more time to cook. So we do try and work that out portion-wise of not absolutely overwhelming people. So, for example, we try not to sell massive squash to people. We try and sell either sweet dumpling or Miss Sophie because they're kind of the size that 2 people can cope with. So that's the basic veg, and that will give you enough veg to kind of eat for the week for a small family. The add-ons, yes, are bought by people who have more money and can afford it. So that is a way of us kind of balancing, allowing more people to have veg, but also kind of covering our costs. In terms of selling elsewhere, we have an acre that is dedicated for the CSA. So that is planted up with all the kind of annual vegetables, but also we've put fruit trees and soft fruits and asparagus, although we're on very heavy clay, so we'll see how that works, and things like that. So that all the food in that acre will go in the CSA boxes. That doesn't go anywhere else. And then we have other areas on the farm that either go for the edible flowers and cut flowers, and also we have a space that we're using for a local restaurant. So they've basically a space on our farm, and we grow some stuff for them there. Did that answer all the? Depends who you ask. I mean, I think probably I've set up a really, really complicated business that has about 26 different strands, which is really foolish. Yeah. So each individual business is great. Trying to combine them all is a really, really foolish thing to have done. But there we go.
Can I just say the CSA network does actually have a report on social pricing. So they've looked at all the different stuff, all the different models of social pricing in CSAs in the UK, and that is available from the CSA network if you want a copy.
Okay, thanks, Ed, for getting here. And you get 3 for the price of 2 because of having Hannah, so bonus. So I'll hand over to Ed, and then there'll be a chance for a few more questions, I think, after that. So are you talking for about 10 minutes? Yeah, okay, here you go.
So hi guys, yeah, apologies, I'm late. I've been sat in traffic on the 303 for the last 2 hours, so I've been trying to get here. So my name's Ed Hamer. I run a CSA down on Dartmoor, edge of Dartmoor, Chagfood CSA. We've been going 15 years, starting in 2010. We're very much a grower-led CSA, the grower-led end of the spectrum. We started in response to demand, increased demand for access to fresh seasonal organic veg within our community. We started on 1 acre back in 2010, doing 25 shares, and we've gradually increased over the past 15 years. Hit a peak around COVID of about 150 shares on about 10 acres. And today we're growing on about 9 acres, doing about 140 shares. All of our shares go to villages within about a 7-mile radius of the farm. We do 3 share sizes, small, medium, large. About 10% of our members pay up front at the beginning of the season. The other 90% pay monthly by direct debit. And we also offer 10% of our shares to low-income households. And just following on maybe from that question, that isn't means tested, it's just self-administered. Basically, people can apply for low-income shares, so there's no means testing as far as that's concerned. We are, I would say, probably at the traditionalist end of the CSA spectrum, in that we're pretty restrictive. We don't offer refunds for uncollected shares. If people are going on holiday, they have to get a neighbour or a friend to come and collect their veg box for them. We don't offer tailored shares, so other than 3 sizes, there's no option to opt out of onions or potatoes or any other things that we supply. We supply year round. This from like March till November, everything in the share is produced on our farm, and then we supplement in from November to February time with organic produce from other South Devon organic producers. And the members are kind of very happy with that we're just sourcing within Devon. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much and then the distribution model is that we deliver to collection points. So we do about 10% door drops, but 90% of our shares go to central collection points in 6 villages. So people come and collect their veg from there anytime on a Thursday evening until Monday morning, essentially. So that's our model. We employ 3 full-time growers through the peak of the season, March to October. And then in the winter, it's pretty much 1 full-time equivalent. Maybe just as a side bit of interest for you, we've recently, in the last 2 years, we've moved to a new growing site where we've got a coppice woodland. We started integrating the coppice woodland. We produce charcoal, so we're introducing biochar and wood chip to complement soil fertility, build organic matter, and on a year like this, trying to retain a bit more moisture in the soil. So we've got mixed results with that, so if anyone wants to talk to me about that afterwards, feel free. One thing, I know time is short, so I just want to give a few reflections that I think will be useful. 2 years ago, I got a scholarship to go to the States to study or visit CSA farms through the Churchill Fellowship. So I went to the States for 3 months and visited about 40 CSA farms around the States, all up in New England, across the Midwest and down the West Coast. People may be familiar, but the US is really has been driving the revolution in CSA for the past 30 years or so. It really got picked up, the model got picked up there in the 90s and kind of became the default model for direct retail sales, on-farm sales. And I had a couple of observations lots of observations I came back with. Probably the 2 key ones were that the older, more established CSAs have tended to lean much more into the risk-sharing element of the model. So they've been much more committed to sharing the risk with their members, and as a result have generated incredible actually levels of support of member support and member commitment to sharing that risk. Whereas the newer CSAs that started in the last sort of 5 or 10 years are much more transactional in nature, and they probably replicate more of the box scheme model that we see here in the UK. And as a result, they tend to have less member engagement and less, I suppose, appetite for sharing that risk. So I think one of the key lessons that I came back with was really that as CSAs in the UK, I think we probably do need to lean a bit more into that sharing the risk element. I think there is a temptation in modern consumer society to try and make everything about convenience and accessibility, whereas actually the evidence from the States demonstrates that the more restrictive you are in nature, in the longer term, the more resilient your model will be. So I don't know if we've got any more time, but I think maybe I'll just start with that. Okay. The only other thing I was going to say was about OGG2025, which is the European umbrella organization for CSAs. CSAs have taken off a lot more rapidly in Europe, mainland Europe, than they have in the UK. I think the divergence is really down to the success of the traditional organic box schemes here in the late 80s and early 90s. They really took off in the 90s and became kind of the model for direct sales here in the UK. And that really met much of the appetite from consumers for connection to their producers, traceability, transparency in the food system, all those things that CSA delivers on. But it is really important to point out that box schemes kind of compromise on two areas when it compared to CSA, and one is sharing the risk, and the other is that upfront payment, the guaranteed market that CSAs deliver to their members, to the producer. And you can't really underestimate as a producer the value of that guaranteed market in the peak of the season when you're flat out growing veg, not having to go and do a farmer's market or go and do farm gate stalls or other direct retail models, just to know that your produce is already sold, and all you need to do is, not all you need to do, but in terms of distribution, is harvest it and distribute it. That takes a huge weight off of your shoulders as a grower at the peak of the growing season. So for me, that's probably one of the greatest assets. The other one is really community engagement, getting people onto the farm, giving them the opportunity to come to a working farm. That's a really rare commodity, I suppose, in today's society. So yeah, OGG2025, I was saying, is really the umbrella organization for CSAs in Europe. They represent CSAs in France, Germany, Spain, Belgium, all the major European countries. And in all those countries, CSA seems to have taken off a lot quicker and been much more supported. I think the reasons for that is partly that they are much more traditionally agrarian societies. They're much more connected to their food producers. They haven't experienced such a dramatic disassociation from the land as we have here in the UK. They're much more varied topography and varied agricultural landscapes as well, whereas in the UK we've kind of got this dichotomy between the west of the UK that focuses on pastoral and the east of the UK that focuses on arable, and that's led to kind of a concentration and specialisation in production across the country. That has happened in Europe to a certain extent, but nowhere near as much as in the UK. So I feel like the landscape and topography has really helped to maintain that the connection to the agrarian society over there. So OGG2025 is the umbrella organisation that really represents CSAs across Europe, and they do a lot of advocacy work, looking at promoting the model for European consumers. They also do a lot of policy work where they work with the European Commission to implement legislation, directives that are aimed at supporting direct retail models. And then they mobilise as well. They organise a lot of campaigns. They work with Confederation Paysanne, ECBC, European Coordination Via Campesina, to promote and work on direct action models that promote food sovereignty, essentially. We were going to have someone here from OGG2025, weren't we? But if anyone's interested in OGG2025 in more detail, they can talk to me a bit afterwards or look them up online. Is that right? For now, if there are any questions on any of that, happy to take them.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Ed. And just following on from that, I'm going to sneak in a quick question about that risk-sharing model, and which connects to the European CSAs, because I've been hearing about some even more radical ones in the Netherlands and Germany recently, where the costs of the running the CSA and production are shared, but publicly with the whole CSA, which I think they are probably in some models in England. But then there's a sort of bidding system for some people who can't pay for a full share, having their share topped up by other people, or in the Netherlands, where people members are told, well, this is how much it costs, this is how much time it takes to produce a box. Will you pay for the amount that you're paid per hour in your job? How much do the three of you think that that could work, knowing your customers or your members well? Do you think that's a feasible thing to happen in Britain or not?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll talk about
my direct experience with that, I suppose, is more from the States. So there's a lot of CSAs in the States that use what they call the magic hat model, which is where at the beginning of the growing season they calculate their costs, their overheads for the next 12 months, and then they go to the members and say, this is our overheads. We need to generate this value from the membership. So they'll go around and ask for basically sealed bids from the members to see what they can generate. And then they'll add them all up, and if they don't have enough, they'll go back and say we need more. And that model seems to work incredibly well. Some of the newer CSAs, particularly around Madison in Wisconsin, have kind of tailored that online. So they kind of do an online model of that at the beginning of the season, where members can kind of say how much they can afford. And again, if they don't get enough, they can go back to the members, kind of, I suppose, without that direct face-to-face connection. So yeah, I do know in the States it's working well. I know there are a couple of examples in the UK, but yeah, maybe talk a bit about Doncaster. For us, I suppose the way we do it is that we've set our price. Our price has increased, I think, 4 or 5 times in the past 15 years since we started. But we made a really clear decision this season actually to tie the cost of our small share to the minimum wage. So actually the cost of our small share is now £12.21. And part of that was driven by I suppose, need to move away from the apprenticeship model. Previously, we've had apprentices who've worked on the farm. We now have 3 assistant growers paid at the minimum wage. So that's resulted in a significant increase in overheads for us as a business. But it's actually, we've kind of thought it was quite a neat way of communicating to our members the fact that the small share really represents what all the rest of our members actually earn in an hour of their work. And the fact that the minimum wage is going to go up pretty much every year over the next 3 years under a Labour government. So that will help us to couch the inflation on the boxes. So we'll see how it works. The members so far have taken it really well, and it just seemed like quite a neat way of trying to couch inflation.
I think that's a very good way of doing it. Also, it's a really good way of talking about it. I think it depends on where you are in the country, and I think we've got a really interesting environment because we're heavily mining area, and so the thing with miners is that they group. So most of our kind of council houses will have space for small plots, and there's a lot of allotments around us. So people understand growing and good food, but also we are, the last mine to close in the country was in Doncaster. There's a really inbred thing of the government took our jobs away, but also there's a massive thing of farming was sold to Europe, and that also took our jobs. So you end up talking to people and they say, well, actually we used to make tractors, but all the tractors are made in Europe now because the government sold farming out. And so we have to be very careful how we talk to people about what they're buying off us, so that we don't come across that you have to be wealthy to buy the vegetables, or that actually we're asking more money from you, so people start feeling uncomfortable. So I suspect in other areas, so we're quite close to North Yorkshire, we can go into North Yorkshire villages, and our marketing is very, very different to what our marketing is if we're going into some of the kind of Doncaster suburbs.
Yeah, I think, they work, but proportional to the amount of time you've got to put into them, basically. I know 5 Acre, I don't know if Ed's here. 5 Acre, for example, where I used to work as well, they've got a system whereby people donate money and they use the money to buy shares on the farm, which are then donated to a social supermarket in Coventry, for example. I mean, there are lots of different, people are willing, basically, to entertain a lot of these different models, but, all of them need some sort of admin and time input to run them, basically. The other thing that we always grappled with was, I think Ed's sort of touched on this, is how do you judge who needs the solidarity share, basically, without being quite intrusive? And that's what we didn't want to be that. And, obviously then that comes down to some sort of self-certification, and how comfortable people are with that, So I think they work, but I think you need to put the work in to make them work, basically.
Hi, thanks. Sort of a double-edged question is like kind of market research / figuring out what the community needs. Like, for example, I also used to work at 5 Acre. They don't do delivery. There's not really any choice, and they've sort of reached the end of their market that will come to the farm to get exactly the share that is on offer. So how do you know what the community needs that's actually going to be helpful for a deprived or disadvantaged community, and B, know what the local market can provide? Is it that in order to reach enough people that will just cook whatever you give, you need to deliver, for example? How do you weigh that up and figure it out?
Well, exactly. How do you weigh it all up? Yeah, it's not easy, and I went to some interesting talks at the last CSA gathering, I think, from a kind of sociologist, and saying, well, all right, you're offering poor people food, but basically it's well down on the list of the things they want, Well, they need a bit of basic justice and all the rest of it. Food is actually, when you ask them directly, it's quite low on the list, actually. I was quite surprised. Most people valued food that was given to them if it was given to them in a social context, basically, a meal or something like that. So, yeah, there are many, many factors to weigh up.
Yeah, for us, it's kind of been iterative, I suppose, in that we've grown very gradually over a 15-year period. But our main deciding limiting factor has been our catchment area. So we were quite committed in the early days to only supply to Chagfood, which was probably a bit naive to begin with. And then it took probably 5 years for us to recognise that we needed to expand to another couple of villages. And this is when we were pushing up to 50 shares, and then we were kind of stuck for a long time at about 60 to 70 shares, and we were really desperate for cash flow to kind of increase the membership and really struggling to do that. So we made a couple of key changes. The first one was really introducing trial shares, so people were able to try a share for a month before committing for a season. That seemed to make quite a big difference rather than having to commit for a whole year up front. The other thing was going to year-round shares, because previously we only supplied for our own produce. We didn't buy anything in, and that meant that in the winter, if people wanted to sign up, we had to say, you can sign up, you need to wait till April, which isn't really a very good marketing model to get people to wait for 6 months if they want to sign up for a share. So going year-round and buying in from other Devon organic producers gave us the capacity to take on new members at any point of the season, and that was a bit of a game changer. And the third one was really doing door deliveries, because I think you're absolutely right. A lot of people do buy from Riverford or Abel and Cole, and they appreciate the convenience of having the box delivered to their door. So we made a kind of calculated decision to offer that as an additional payment. So we charge £2 a week for a door drop, and all of our door drops are on the delivery round that I go to with all the other collection points. So it doesn't introduce significant additional journeys, but it does generate 40 or 60 quid a week extra income that helps to cover the labour and the fuel for going to those houses. And then it includes those members who might otherwise just be tempted to go to a box scheme or go to the supermarket. Just on the price on the price issue, it's worth pointing out we did Chagfood Show yesterday. It's the biggest marketing thing of our year, I suppose. We always recruit new members at Chagfood Show. One of my assistant growers, in preparation for the show, she prepared a price comparison of last week's box. What was in last week's box with the same box from Riverford, so guys around, or Sainsbury's or Waitrose, all organic produce. And we came out significantly cheaper. On Riverford, we were about 20% cheaper. On Sainsbury's, we were about 35%, and on Waitrose, we were about 45% cheaper on both our small and medium shares. So I feel like little exercises like that are really valuable in just, you don't have to do them every year, but every so often, just as an illustration to prospective members or low-income households to illustrate that actually CSA shares are incredibly good value. And the reason is because of the guaranteed market. The reason is we're not harvesting produce that we're taking to a farmer's market. People don't turn up at the farmer's market and that produce ends up on the compost. Or that we're at the peak of the season and we've got the most produce coming out of the field and all of our customers are going on holiday and cancelling their boxes. It's the guaranteed market and that the guaranteed cash flow that really makes that work, makes the affordability work. And it's really worth labouring that point with new and prospective members, I would say.
Yeah, so I think the other thing is that, I mean, for us for deliveries, we are talking to every one of our customers every week. So actually, I think asking people what they want and what they like and what they don't like is the biggest way of finding it out. And I don't think we've asked quite personal questions of people down to, you know, what exactly, what veg do you exactly like, how are you using it, you know, and people want to help you. So it really is worth doing questionnaires. It's worth just chatting to people. It's worth saying, right, this week I'm going to ask everybody what they thought of the box last week, because they will give you all the information you need. And then the flip side is making it really easy for people to use your veg. So I think there's lots of different ways people do leaflets or information. But I think any way you can help people, specifically if the vegetables are unusual or they might not know how to prep them or they're actually not used to cooking lots, actually being able to say, this is a recipe you can use, this is how you prep it, and also this is how you freeze it. So we do lots of like kale or chard or beans where we're saying we're giving you far too much to eat this week, but this is how you freeze it so that you've got more on the weeks. This is how you can preserve it. Have you seen this recipe of how to do pickled beetroot, etc.? So I think making it easy for people to use the veg, given that they're just getting something that they've not chosen, is quite important as well.
Hello. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm Katie. Hello. Just in the first year of setting up the market garden. And so when we first set it up, we were trying to figure out whether to go the CSA route, veg box route, and one determining factor was the fact that we couldn't guarantee, given the knowledge that we had, that we could provide a diverse range of food and stuff like that anyway. But now we're thinking, well, should we consider moving to a CSA model? And I'm trying to kind of figure out basically what you sort of hinted towards is what is the difference basically between a veg box scheme and a CSA scheme. For some reason that risk part doesn't quite hit, and how it is different, because we have community engagement already, we have like events and stuff and people are really supportive, but what makes it a CSA specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I've probably got quite strong views on this, but I think the one word that sums up for me is integrity. I think CSAs have an integrity that traditional box schemes don't have. Don't get me wrong, like traditional box schemes are fantastic, and I think they've done an incredible job at converting the British public to buying fresh, seasonal, organic veg from local producers. But the one thing they do let the producer down on is that commitment and that personal connection to the farm. So box schemes, in my experience, have over the years tried to eat more and more of the supermarket demographic. So they try to make themselves more transactional, more convenience in nature, offering more and more options for tailored boxes in order to try and meet that market of people who go to larger box schemes or go to the supermarket. Going back to what I was saying, my experience from the States is that the key to running a successful and a resilient CSA is leaning into the restrictive nature of the model. And it's actually very difficult to go back the other way. So if you start as a box scheme, offering tailored shares, offering people to, if they go on holiday, they can cancel their box. You know, different compromises that you make as a grower to try and build your business. It's very difficult to go back the other way and to say, actually, no, we're introducing non-tailored shares and you can't get a refund for uncollected boxes. So I would really urge you, if you're starting out in the early days of a CSA, is to start restrictive. And then if over time you're really struggling to build your membership, then you could look at some ways of maybe compromising on some of those key aspects. But yeah, I would say the integrity of the CSA model and the direct connection with the producer and the consumer are the things that set it apart from the traditional box scheme.
Hi, I'm Livy from Middle Ground Growers. We have a veg box scheme, and I was wondering how Ed, so I think you said about 90% of people pay monthly, is that right? How do you ensure that they keep paying monthly throughout the year?
Yeah, so we made a transition about 5 years ago from standing orders to direct debits, and that was a bit the game changer. So previously, when people signed up, we gave them our bank details and said, you need to set up a standing order to our account. Whereas now, we transitioned about 5 years ago to an accounting package called Xero, which many of you might be familiar with. And Xero makes it really simple to create basically a link that you put in an email that takes them to a front end of a payment page where they put in their details and it sets up direct debit. And the difference is the direct debit is in our control, it's not in their control. So they can cancel a direct debit, but they have to call the bank. They can't do it online, so it becomes a bit more challenging for them to do it. We also make it extremely clear when members sign up for a share that they have to give us 2 months notice if they're leaving the CSA at any point. And to my constant amazement, people always honour it. Very rarely have I had anyone say, no, I'm not giving you 2 months notice. I think once they've done a season with you, they're bought in, even if it's not working for them. And they're choosing to leave the CSA for whatever reason, they still have that commitment to supporting you as growers. And that kind of, I think, speaks to the strength of how you build that connection as a producer with your consumers. But no, there's no legally binding contract that we can make people sign when they sign up as members. But I feel like our weekly newsletter and just the, I suppose, the personability of the model that we have kind of builds that trust between us and the members. And that's served us really well over the years. So yeah, I think that, yeah, there's no legal way of doing it, but I think the trust does it in itself.
Yeah, we do exactly the same as Ed. We've got direct debits, 2 months notice to quit. But we also, when people first sign up, we have just an understanding which says that basically, give us 2 months to quit, and they sign it. So that just kind of reinforces it a bit. But I think Ed's right, you know, once they've been with you for a while, they completely get it. And often they're apologetic when they leave. You know?
Yeah, and I think actually the rigid nature of it means that you have to explain why they're getting exactly what they're getting each week and why, you know, they may like the holiday. So we do offer holidays because we go on holiday. So everyone's allowed 2 weeks off a year with us because we have 2 weeks off. But I think if you're having to explain all of those things up front, people are buying in right from the start. Whereas if you're just saying it's veg box, or you know that you're just getting veg box, then people assume you're like Riverford and that, or you know, Able and Cole or Oddbox, and that actually they feel like that's more transactional relationship. Also, just throw in something really dodgy every so often, and then like, oh yeah, shared risk and reward. It's like dodgy Chad. Ah, we get it now.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and experience. And can everyone please give a big hand to these three?
Yeah, I do have a CSA 2-day in-person CSA startup scaling up course. I mean, it is in Scotland, so if anyone's down from Scotland, then make a holiday of it. But all of us up here, I'm sure, and the whole the CSA network obviously offer a lot of training, online resources. But another unique aspect of the CSA community is we are only too happy to help new and establishing CSAs. Come and visit our farms, come and chat to us, give us a call, whatever it may be to get you going. We all want to see more CSAs up and running, and anything we can do to make that happen, we're only too happy to do it.